car is obviously running. All right, so we got one here that I'm not a huge fan of. We've got a JZ powered car with an AEM Infinity. So if you guys know, I had an issue with an AEM Infinity just a while back that we're still sorting through, but that's what the customer has. This car's been sitting for about 3 years now apparently, and that's about all I know about it. So the car ran before on the stock ECU, and they have this sweet boom slang jumper harness here, and yeah, just I guess couldn't find a tuner or something, and then I don't know what the story is. I just know that I have a feeling I'm not gonna have a good time with this, but that's just how it goes. So first things first, I got a battery in it, or they got me a battery and I put it in just now. So we've got that all hooked up here, and we're missing the ECU obviously. So let's go find that thing. So they said that this car started on, I don't know if they said on the Infinity, I don't think so. The reason why I say that is because all of the comms cables, basically the USB cable was never opened. So there's a good chance that this car's probably never started. Maybe they meant the stock ECU, I don't know. It does have some type of EV14 style injector. Let's see if, oh, the key fob still works. That's cool. Let's do some snooping here really quick. Let's see if we got like a fuel injector development. Okay. All right. So we have this supposed data sheet here. Let's see what we got going on here. So the key is off. I'm going to key it on, but I'm not getting any USB tones, so something's not turning on. All right, give it a shot, see what it does. Oh, hold on, let me get this battery terminal. So we're gonna try to get it to do something on the stock ECU, see if it'll, anything? Go ahead, try again. Okay. So really bad fuel. Yeah, but even on bad fuel, it'll like you'll get a puff or something. Yeah. This sounds like it doesn't even want to run. Yeah. Well, you know, like even if the car's been sitting, it'll maybe try to sputter or do something, but this ain't doing shit. It doesn't even sound like, it just sounds like the engine's cranking, but it doesn't sound like it's actually commanding the ECU to do anything. Can you try to crank it one more time? I'm gonna put my hands on the injector really quick here, just to see. Go ahead. So it runs on the stock computer. Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
All right, so we finally got our plug and play adapter for the 1J powered G35 here. And so this connector may look somewhat familiar, and that's because it's the same one we used on the Chaser. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this plug and play adapter here so we can get it out of the way, because it obviously doesn't work. So, and it's wired for an AEM Infinity, so that can go into the trash. So we're gonna plug in our new plug and play adapter. Okay, this is weird. So I've tried 2 different USB cables to the EMU, and even though the EMU is plugged in, it's actually not turning on. So I guess now we get to troubleshoot why it's not coming on. Fortunately enough, that's pretty easy. It's just 3 wires. It's going to be ECU ground, 12 volt power, and the key on power. So that shouldn't be too hard to figure out. And we'll just take a peek at it really quick and just find out what the hell's going on here. So we'll go from there. Okay, so we have an issue here. This pin should be 12 volt power. We're only getting 4 volts out of it. And this one is key on power, as it sounds, and we're only also getting 4 volts out of this. So I think the battery is, maybe the battery's dying. This is a new battery, but as usual, whoever wired this up, fans stay running, so you can't disconnect them. No, we got 12 volts here. So something is going on with this wiring here that's not letting it key on, or it doesn't provide power for some reason. So it's not an issue with an ECU, it's the issue with something going on with the wiring in here. Okay, so on the 12 volt power pins, they do have power, but what we're missing is the ignition key on wire. So this is ignition key on. The ignition obviously is on, but it's got nothing. The problem is I have no idea how they tap this or what color it becomes or anything like that. So I see this yellow black wire here, or black yellow wire rather, and I'm assuming that's it. But man, this wiring is like all over the place. But that's definitely our problem here. I don't know the pinout off the top of my head for the ZG chassis like I do a lot of other ones, but using my power probe, we only have 1 pin here that has power. Oh, and that is the constant 12 volt power. So something in here is not right. So I'm going to review I'm probably going to cut this all out here and then at least review the wiring so I can figure out what's all going on here, but something's definitely screwy. Okay, so according to this, 104 and 111 should give us key on power, which in turn kicks over a relay. So this is 111 and this is actually 104. And as you can see, neither one of them provide any key on power. So there is a factory relay that's involved somewhere that's not doing anything. So I don't know if we blew a fuse or what, but I've got to do some more digging to find out what the hell is going on. But we don't have key on power where we should have it. All right, so there is a main relay inside the IPDM that looks like it's still, to my understanding, would still be working. These cars do have IPDM issues, and I'm wondering if that's the problem. There is a fuse and an ECM relay for it, and again, I just wonder if that's the actual problem. Now, what I will say though, that I do know for a fact, that that there was an issue with the AEM, and I know that because I tried to hardwire it, you know, using my tools to hardwire it to see if it would even come on. And so even with everything hooked up, it never actually did anything. So we couldn't get any USB communication out of it. So again, like I said, I do know it is bad. So there's a engine control fuse here, and that's attached. These we can't test, but engine control is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on trying to remove the IPDM now. Okay, so something screwy is definitely going on here. So right now the key is on, and it has only 4 volts, and the ECU is not connected. But I'm going to apply 12-volt power, and you're going to see that the ECU will in fact come on. So as you can see down here, it says it's connected, and I'm basically brute forcing the power on. So the ECU does come on, so that is definitely a better start than what we had before. But something's definitely not right here in terms of this wiring. So I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to key it off. I'm going to have the customer show up and kind of just show him what the hell's all going on, because something's definitely screwy here. It's really hard because you've got to make, like, even though we have this pinout available, we actually have to look at how they tapped all this wiring in place here on the G35 side, and something's not right here. So according to the diagram, and I really don't know how this car ran before, to be honest with you, or how it ran on the stock ECU, but the main connection here is this VB. Okay, VB is essentially main relay power. So when you key it on, you get signal from pin 111. 111 grounds the ECU, and then when it grounds pin 111 grounds the main relay, right? Once it grounds the main relay, then at that point you get the main relay should kick over and then supply power to VB, both the VB pins here, which everything is attached to right here. So if you follow the VB pin, which is this the blue wire, it's all tapped into the main wiring of the JZ ECU. So something is, I don't know how they wired it up before, and having to go through it makes it a bit difficult. But VB, like I said, should have power, and that's the power that I hijack here. The moment that I give it 12-volt power, it technically gives power here, and then everything works like it's supposed to. But they have it wired up where the factory main relay is supposed to do something, which we definitely do not get. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have the customer show up, and then I'll show him what the hell's going on, and then he can tell me what he wants me to do. Okay, so according to a picture I have online here, I was able to grab the main relay out of the IPDM. So hopefully this is in fact the main relay, but we're gonna test it, and we should be able to hear it clicking. So clicking feels nice and strong, so that's working there. We just gotta, I checked the power side of it, and we've got okay, so we got power on the main relay side, and so it looks like we just got to find out where the hell the last wire is going into. But strangely enough, IPDM here has 12-volt power, which it shouldn't. So we've just got to go through and find out which one is our we just got to find out which one is the old power or the old ground signal wire, and I think it's this one. I think it's actually this wire right here, because it's white, and I believe by looking at this, the wire that they snipped is also white. It's white and it has the little silver dots, which I assume is actually this one right here. And I checked this wire earlier, and it actually has 12-volt power, so I think this is the problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip this wire. We'll snip this wire here, and then we should lose 12 volts up front. Inside, and did confirm that there's no longer any power on this wire. So whoever did the wiring conversion had this wired incorrectly, and I'm pretty sure it was back feeding. Since it was back feeding, it's not working. So now we should be able to get the main relay to kick over. So I'm going to So they had this wire joined the 12 volt power constant. So I'm going to pull this wire out of the zip tie here just to give me a little bit of access. I'll go ahead and I'll strip it and then make the correct connections, hopefully. Okay, so we got this main relay grounded out, and if we check with the back probe here, we're actually now getting 12 volt power like we're supposed to. I don't know if it keys on and off or not, but it definitely is getting with it keyed on though, the ECU is not coming on. So now we just got to check for the key on power. So key on power we also have now. So according to this, we've got 12 volt power, but the ECU is still not coming on for some reason. Now that we got the main relay working, so what happens is that when you get the main relay on, surprise, surprise, guess what happens, guys? The key just stays in the on position. So even though the ignition switch is completely off, it has constant power, so the ECU comes on. And I found the ignition switch wire, which is this black and orange wire here, and guess what? It's tapped into the main relay wire. So it's definitely wrong. We're gonna cut this out, and I'm gonna figure out where the ignition switch wiring from the factory is, and then we'll fix that. And at that point, hopefully we're good. On the G35 side, pin 106 is key on, and that's what I have here. And these guys have the black red wires here. These black red wires on the JZ side is actually battery power. So they have this wired all sorts of complete wrong, but we'll get this all fixed. I'm not sure where this wire, this green wire, is attached to, but all this is wrong. So I'm going to cut all this out, and we're going to move it into the correct spot, or I'm going to try to. But for now, I'm going to leave this as is, because what I want to do is hook up the black orange, which is the actual key on wire, to here, and then see if we can get this thing to key on correctly. Okay, so we got some things worked out. We've got the key on wire figured out, and as you can see, the key on, now the EMU is reading. Now here's first, we don't get anything on the cam scope at all, but check this out. So you see down here, it's no sync. So we've got some noise here. I'm gonna hit none. You're gonna see that it's trying to synchronize even though there's nothing there. So it definitely has quite a bit of noise here that we're going to try to figure out, but it's not picking up anything on the cam side of it, and I'm not really too sure why. So unfortunately, trying a couple things, we couldn't get anything to work. So we couldn't get any cam trigger. More importantly, with it keyed on, I don't seem to be getting nothing. Like, I tried to get it to crank without the cam sensor working, and because the car's already batch spark from the factory, we got nothing out of it. So there could be some more screwy wiring down here. I'm not really too sure. We'll have to take a look at the coil wiring and injector wiring, and that's what I'll do next, is just to make sure that we key it on and we've got power and ground. The easy way of testing that is just doing a quick output test. What I'm going to do though is I'm actually going to cut the wiring to the fan, because the fans are staying on with key on, which is really, really annoying, and it drains the battery really quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and disable the fans, because I don't know how it's wired up, and then we'll go from there. We'll start troubleshooting some more on it. All right, so I'm gonna leave the camera right here. Basically, you're resting right above the intake manifold here, and should be on injector number 2. I'm going to test injector number 2, and if it works, you should be able to hear it clicking. I tested it earlier and I couldn't hear anything. So I know there's a lot of noise that's going on here, but I don't hear anything clicking. So I'm going to try it again. Yeah, I don't hear anything clicking. All right, so we don't have any anything clicking over there, so I'm assuming it's more goofy wiring what they have inside. I did disable the fans. I disabled the fans by cutting the ground wires off the fans really quick, the fan harness over here, just to get the fans off. There wasn't an easy way of removing the relays from the IPDM. So at this point now is we just got to figure out how the hell they wired up the power for the injectors and the coils, because I'm under the assumption that's why it doesn't have anything working. Okay, so we're making some progress. I don't think the fuel pump is coming on, but obviously as you can see the cars are wanting to start. So we're definitely getting there. Cam sensor still not working. I have that disabled currently. So we're gonna do some more figuring out and go from there. All right, as you guys can see, the car is obviously running. The injector size is like 900 cc, but the fuel smells really, really bad. So it's definitely running. All right, so it was running, rather. As you can see, it's not running now. All right, well, car's definitely not happy, obviously. I think the fuel is really old because it smells bad. Yeah, it's pretty old fuel. Burning out my eyes. I'm gonna die in here. Blech. All right, so besides it trying to kill me, it wow, yeah, this thing is freaking terrible. So it runs. We'll leave it at that for now. And like I said, the octane is extremely low, but we've got quite a bit more things done. So we finally got it started on the EMU, so I'm pretty stoked about that. It's just time to clean up now and then call it a day.